Thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity to speak not just to yourself but to the broader Iranian community, both here in Australia and abroad. Um, Earlier today in the Australian Senate, myself and a number of other senators across the political spectrum came together in a sign of unity and national bipartisanship to send a very strong message that Australia and the Australian Senate stands very closely with the people of Iran, both abroad and here in Australia. And it's an important message that we want to send at a time where many family members, friends, are fearing for the worst for their family and friends in Iran at the moment. I know many in my home state of Victoria, particularly in Melbourne, where a number of friends have reached out to me, and my office continues to get hundreds of phone calls and emails every single day, particularly since the regime in Iran started to crack down on its own citizens last year. What we have seen is very much distressing footage and stories about people who have been brutally murdered, people who have been arbitrarily arrested, people who have disappeared. And there are many people that are asking questions about what can we do as an international community. And this is one of, I guess, the many steps that international partners like Australia can do to put pressure on the Iranian regime right now. It is very one small step, but an important step and a message that we want to send very clear that Australia stands in solidarity with the Iranian people.
Senator, how do you assess the behavior of the Islamic republics on Iranian protesters who stand up with their rights and demands of Iranian people?
Quite frankly, I think anyone around the world deserves to have the same human rights that we all get to enjoy here in Australia. The freedoms to be able to protest without a government who will come and brutally attack, murder, or take people away. These are freedoms that people around the country, here in Australia and around the world, get to enjoy, and that should apply to people in Iran. And all that we are asking the Iranian regime to do right now is to abide by the human rights conventions that the world observes right around the world right now. What we are fearing the most is that the regime is ignoring those calls, ignoring those pleas by countries like Australia and many others. And what we see in the United Nations right now are calls for the Iranian regime to stop its brutal crackdown against its own citizens. People deserve to enjoy freedoms. People deserve to have the human rights that we have all fought for such a long time. And what we are seeing on our news channels, on the internet, is quite disturbing. And today, the Australian Senate sent a very clear message that we do not tolerate, and we are on the side of the people in Iran.
Senator Chekoni, what is your direct message to Iranian people in this hard situation, which many of them right now looking for help, as the President Trump said that the help is on the way? What is your direct message to Iranian people?
Stay strong. Australia is very much by your side. We are, as a collective and an international community, wanting to see a resolution to what is happening right now. I understand the United States are in conversations with many international partners, and the Iranian regime also is now in dialogue with the US. But what we are saying here in Australia very clearly is that the attacks that are occurring on citizens has to stop immediately. We need people to sit down and talk about the issues. But clearly there is a will out there to see change. People want to be able to enjoy their livelihoods. We cannot afford another generation of people to be murdered. We cannot afford another generation of young people, young leaders, future business people, academics, individuals that can make a great contribution to what was once a wonderful country. People have been crying out for some time now on the streets of Iran because they are hurting, both economically and socially. And quite frankly, I think the regime needs to listen to its citizens. And as I said in my speech earlier in the week, regimes that shoot against its own people, history shows, ultimately fall. And quite frankly, that is a message that they should listen to very clearly.
Senator Ciccone, thank you so much for your time at the end of this interview. If you want to add any comments, it's your time.
Thank you. And simply, I just want to reiterate my support for the diaspora here in Australia. Many of my colleagues, both in the government and the opposition and the crossbench, are in unison in our support of the Iranian diaspora in Australia. I urge people to continue the fight, to continue to share your stories, because the more that we see what is happening in Iran, there will be greater pressure applied on the regime to stop its brutal treatment of its own citizens. And what is so important right now, that there are so many brave men and women and young people who are risking their lives to fight for the freedoms that we all get to enjoy and take for granted here in Australia. And all I can say is stay strong, and my courage to the people of Iran is to continue. You will win. But you've just got to be persistent, and please know that people around the world are behind you.